Thank you very much to everybody who's given us such positive feedback from the underwater at Norton Disney. And just to solve a problem for you, before our shot on the hook comes out, we are developing it. I think we're on version 3 now, but it has to be perfect. But in the meantime, there are very, very easy ways to do it. So first of all, you're doing a short boom hook link. This is 20-pound boom, crimped to either end. It's got an anti-tangle sleeve. That's very, very important that it pushes everything out in front of the lead system. You've got a bit of putty in the middle of there to hold everything flat on the bottom. We've also found that's important. A spinner swivel on the end with no ring on it, just to try and reduce the amount of weight on the eye of the hook. You're trying to make the point heavy. So if you make the eye heavy, you're making the point lighter. So the least weight on the eye of the hook, the better. And then I've got a D-rig kicker on there. Got one of the micro ring swivels, slid onto that first, and then it slid round onto the hook. The more times you pull it onto a new hook, because you can reuse them over and over again, the easier it will go on. I cut the little taper bit off the end of that before I slide it over the hook, just so it goes over the eye and onto the spinner swivel that little bit easier. And then the all-important shot on the hooks. You've got the old faithful whipping knot that I use on my braided hook links and my combi rigs. Do a big loop underneath the hook, and then you'll 4 or 5 turns, and then you'll pull in the little tiny tag end tight. Slid it round so it's sort of just between the bend and where the point starts. Cut off the tag end, and then squeeze a sort of number 4 to a number 1 split shot onto there, nice and tight. Cut off the tag end of that and then burn it. Just push it up against the shot so it's nice and neat. And people may be worried, is that going to get in the way of the hook going into the mouth and landing the fish? Well, obviously not, because I wouldn't have landed all those fish on underwater. And this is a really good remedy if you're using barbless hooks, because there's no way that it can slide off the hook. I wouldn't go bigger than a BB, just because they start to become too big and too heavy. And obviously you can open the shot back up and reuse the shot. And then the bait is attached just via a bit of dental floss, or bait floss in this situation, and I've just burned the end of it. This is a wafter. I would be holding this down with a little bit of wire in the bottom of the bait, or like you've seen in the underwater film, you could use half a bottom bait and about 1/3 of a wafter, so it just sits with the sort of bottom part of the bait touching the lake bed so it's not wobbling around. If it's absolutely clean as a whistle out there, that's how you want to fish it. If you've got a bit of rubbish on the bottom out there, then you could just fish a normal wafter. And then the other option is simpler still, and I've just used a bit of our marker elastic there. Again, you've still got the D-rig kicker, but I've wrapped it around the hook and pulled it really, really tight. I've opened a split shot up as much as I possibly can, put it underneath that bit of marker elastic so it's as far into the jaws of it as possible, as far into the slit, and then shut it down really tightly. And you can either tie the ends in an overhand knot and pull them up tight, or as I've done here, just burn them and stick them together. These are going to come off from time to time, but if you're fishing for big uns, you know, having that on there is going to make the hook turn really, really quickly. That is the beauty of this setup. So if you lose one of these every now and again, but you're catching loads of extra fish, I think it's worth it. So they are 2 remedies for the shot on the hook rig in the meantime. Look out for our specially moulded version, which is going to come out probably the beginning of 2025. We are working on it non-stop, but to get the benefit in the meantime, that's the way to do it.